Hello traders and investors, welcome back to the Trend Trader channel. This week we saw that the South African Reserve Bank decided to increase the repo rate, which means that if you borrowed money, the installment on that borrowed money is going to increase. This can have negative effect on people's income because remember, these repo rate increases don't usually come with income increases. So from time to time, we need to look for other opportunities where we can make money. And the stock market is one of those places where we have those opportunities of making money. So in today's video, we are going to be looking at the financial sector, specifically the banking stocks. We'll be going through a couple of banking stocks in the video, covering different companies. And then later on, we'll focus specifically on Investec, on why we like Investec. We'll also compare Investec to other banking stocks that we have recently added into our portfolio. So to begin, the chart that we are going to be looking at is the chart of the JSE SA banks. You will not find this information on TradingView. It used to be there. But now this information is available on investing.com, which is another platform that you can use for charting purposes. I previously used to use investing.com, but now I use TradingView most of the time. But what you see on this chart, we see that the banking sector, there was a time where they were in an uptrend starting from somewhere, October 2020, where everything was still going up nicely. We saw that the stock or the banking sector, it reached the top somewhere around April 2022, and then it started to move sideways. So that means that during that period there was a negative movement. The market was just on bearish, or the sector was on bearish. And then recently the sector attempted to try and recapture that upward movement, of which it has successfully done so in the recent weeks. What you see here, the stock is coming closer to that previous high there. We still have a couple of weeks to go until we reach that previous high there. But looking at this chart, the chart is encouraging that the banking sector, or the South African banking sector, is moving in the right direction. So based on this, then we can then go look for opportunities within the banking sector. If we speak about the financial sector, it includes banks and other financial institutions such as life insurers or assurers. So right now we are talking about banks, not just the financial stocks. So now, like I said, based on this, the chart is encouraging. It means that we can look at a couple of companies. But before we go to look at those companies, I know that some of you are more inclined into fundamental analysis. Like I said, the stock that I want us to look at today is Investec. In the JSE, there are two listed Investec. There's Investec Limited, and then there's Investec PLC, which is listed in the London Securities Exchange. Our recent position is on Investec PLC. Previously, we had a position on Investec Limited. So the information about Investec, you can find it on their website, but basically it's a bank. They cover certain class of clients. They do offer corporate and well, I will just say retail banking for the men on the street. As I said, you can find all that information on the Investec website, and then they've got different products that people can buy, or they offer different product to different clients. Just like any other bank, you go to a bank for banking purposes. They have some private banking, and also corporate banking in there. So that is Investec in a nutshell. There was a time where they said some of their clients, retail clients, they're looking for clients that have at least a gross income of 800,000 rand per annum. So that is a bit steep for some people. Other profession, that money is nothing, but for some other profession, that is a bit steep. But the purpose of this video is to talk about the company, not about the ease of becoming a member of Investec. So what I want us to look at is the recent interim result of Investec. So this interim result cover both Investec PLC and Investec Limited, and these are the 6 months that ended on the 30th of September 2022. So I'll just go through the summary of this result. What we see is that there's adjusted earnings per share. Whenever we look at companies that we want to buy, we want to see the earnings per share increasing. In this case, the EPS, they increased by 25.1%, which is good. It shows that the company is making money. We are happy to see the earnings increasing. Compared to other companies that we normally look at, we always find a bit of a challenge to look at the banking result, because there are some things that they explain that differs from other companies. For example, when you look at the balance sheet of Shoprite Group, you will find assets and liabilities. You look at the cash flow statement. It's simple, easy to follow cash flow statement or the income statement. They are always easy, but for the banks, we always find it a bit challenging. So if we do not cover it extensively as we always do with the other stocks, please understand that the banking sector is not a child's play. So another thing that we're interested in is the revenue. So we see that the revenue of Investec, it grew by close to 19%. It's still good because it is above 15%. Ideally, we would like to see the revenue growing by over 20%, but 19% is just close enough to that 20% that we are always looking for. And then they speak about a tangible net asset value. Most companies, they just report a net asset value, not tangible net asset value. And then when you see here, we see that they say it's about 475 pence. So that is about £4.75 in there. The numbers are reported in pence. Remember, this company is listed in the London Securities Exchange, so it uses a different currency compared to the South African rands. But what we see here is that the total net asset value, it remained flat for the period compared to the previous period. When you look at the net asset value, it was £5 compared to that previous £5.1 there. However, they speak of the strong earnings that were generated. So for those people that are interested in dividends, whenever a company reports their result, they are most likely also going to declare dividend. So in this long document, they will find information about the dividend payment. It's just that information is far at the bottom. So I'm just gonna quickly scroll through past all this other information that is not relevant for our analysis today, so that we can go to the dividend information. I know that it is far because I've already looked for it. I nearly thought that it was not there, but you can still download this document from the Investec website, and then you can go through all the other information that you might be interested in. So when you see here, they've already declared a dividend of about 13 pence. So let us look. Here's the value of the dividend. They've declared 13 pence. I've already made the job easier for you by looking at the current South African rand British pound exchange rate. So that 13.5 pence equates to about £2.80 there. That's the gross dividend that you can expect to receive. But remember that there's 20% dividend withholding tax that you can expect to pay from all the dividends that you will be receiving. But the declared dividend, it's 13.5 pence there. And then also, now we need to know the date when that dividend is going to be paid, so that we know when our money is going to hit our brokerage account, assuming that we are investors, of course. So we see, since we keep buying these shares, I bought these shares in my EasyEquities account, so they're listed in the JSE. So the last date to trade in order to participate in the dividend is the 6th of December 2022. And the shares are going to start trading ex-dividend on the 7th of December. The record date is the 9th. Remember, the record date is the date whereby your name needs to be on the shareholder book in order to qualify for the dividend. You can sell your shares before the ex-dividend date. If your name is on the record book, you can still receive the shares, or you can sell your shares after the ex-dividend date if your name is still on the record book by the record date, then you will be eligible to receive that dividend. And then the dividend is going to be paid on Monday, the 9th of January 2023. So now you can see the record date is about a month apart of where the dividend is going to hit your bank account. So that is something that, not your bank account, your brokerage account. So that is something that you need to keep in mind should you decide to buy these shares. So I think I've already said enough. The company is profitable, the revenue is growing, the net asset value is flat. We saw the earnings per share, they grow by close to 20%, and the company is going to be paying 13.5 pence dividend, which equates about a R2.80 gross dividend before dividend withholding tax. So if you are not a technical person, you can decide to stop watching this video here. But if you want to learn more about technical analysis, I want to encourage you to continue watching so that you can see how we make these decisions based on technical analysis, not based on whether the company is going to pay a dividend or the company is not going to pay a dividend. So I mentioned that we already started by looking at the chart of the JSE banks. We saw that the chart, it is bullish in there, and then the stock is back again, resuming with the uptrend. We still yet to take that previous highs there. So if this there is enough strength within the banking sector, we can see this price breaking above this level, which will then confirm that uptrend is again in motion, which is good for investors. Now, based on this, we can go to TradingView and start looking at different companies. We've already covered Investec, so we're going to start by looking at Investec. Remember, we're looking at Investec PLC, not Investec Limited. The reason why we love Investec at this moment, we see that there was a time where it broke above this level, just somewhere around 70 Rand per share. Then there was a pullback coming back to about 75 Rand per share. The stock then traded, reaching somewhere around 100 Rand per share before pulling back again to somewhere to that previous resistance level, which now turned support somewhere between 70 Rand and 75 Rand per share. Since then, the stock has found a support around this level. We see that there was a serious accumulation that was happening in these weeks. The buyers managed to push the price all the way back up to that previous 100 Rand resistance level there that we saw. So when we saw that the share price was approaching that 100 Rand per share region again, then we set a buy stop order expecting the share price to break above this level. So we wanted to be in position should the share price break above this level. It was not a prediction. We were just waiting to see if that move was going to play out, and if that move did play out, we wanted to get an opportunity to buy those shares as the share price broke above this level. So we saw that this week the share price did break above this level, even though that volume is not the most compared to previous week's volume. Ideally, we would have wanted to buy when the volume was high here, but as you can see that previous week, the share price at that time hadn't broken above this level. When the share price broke above this level, there was still more buyers than sellers in the market, so that was encouraging, and for that reason we already have a position on Investec. Remember, we said that if a share price is approaching previous support and resistance level, the share price can trade in a range. Eventually it will break above the resistance level. Sometimes it will just break above the resistance level and continue to trade up without a pullback, but sometimes the share price can break above the resistance level, come back and retest the previous breakout level before continuing with the upward move, which is the same thing that we saw here, which was the retest of the breakout level. We have a video where we're talking about a break and retest strategy. If you haven't seen that video, make sure that you watch it. We will link it in the discussion below, in the description, so that you can go to that video to see what we're talking about with regards to this trading strategy. It has over 50% success rate. Remember, we are traders. Every time we are buying something, we always have a stop loss, because the share price can always come back to that breakout level and then it can continue to trade inside that range. So at all times we want to limit the amount of capital that we can lose should the share price come back to that previous trading range. There is no need for us to stay invested in a company for as long as it is consolidating between the support and resistance level. So for that reason, for this breakout reason, that is why we bought Investec. It's not just about the dividend that they will be paying. Okay, moving forward to other banks, but just let us look at Investec Limited, which is a INL share code. So the share price or the price action is almost similar. As you can see, the Investec PLC first broke above this level, but the limited is just about to break above this level. We already have a position in the PLC. There's no need for us to have a position on limited again, because it is essentially the same company. But like I said previously, we had a position on Investec Limited when it broke above this level here. As you can see, there was a breakout and then a retest of this breakout before the stock continued to trade higher. When the stock started to consolidate sideways, that is why we exited our position in there. We don't always keep our position if the share price starts to pull back. There's no point, because there are other stocks in the stock market that are moving sideways, and we want our capital to be in those companies that are moving up. Okay, so we've already said a lot about Investex, the different kinds of Investex. On Twitter, we've been sharing some charts, not just on Twitter but also on our trading view. We've shared a couple of charts discussing Absa Group. We saw that previously Absa Group was trading above this resistance level, or we're expecting Absa Group to break above this resistance level. Depending on your experience as a trader and the patterns that you've seen in the market, sometimes there's a pattern that is called a cup and a handle. So it looks similar to something like this. The patterns are not always perfect, and we view them as subjective things. Somebody might see a cup and handle, somebody might see something completely different. But the point is, some of these patterns, they do repeat themselves from time to time. So such things, they do happen. So now what you see here with this Absa Group, when the share price it started to come back to this level, we're anticipating a breakout there, and we saw that the stock it kept on getting support from this moving average level there. So based on that, we were expecting that the share price was going to break above this level. Once again, the approach in the market is similar. What changes is the companies that we are looking at. The approach doesn't change. We saw that the share price it broke above this level, and then our buy stop order was triggered. Again, if you haven't seen our video where we're talking about buy stop orders and how to use them on EasyEquities, just make sure that you check that video. So when Absa Group broke above this level, we were already in position, and then it started to consolidate sideways in there. You see that after this breakout, there were two red candles, meaning that in the following 2 weeks, the share price attempted to trade lower. Then we interpreted that as a breakout retest before the stock started to come back to trade near the high of that consolidation level. So when we saw the share price coming back to this consolidation level, we set another buy stop order. So we took our first buy order position here, and then we took our second buy stop order here when it broke above just around 202 rand per share. So now we have a larger position on Absa Group because we just took two different trades at different prices. So in our trading, we always average up, we never average down. So at the moment, we are happy with this position. We can't predict where the share price is going to go, but we're expecting the share price to continue to go up, especially if the banking sector it also continues to go up. Okay, so that's it with Absa Group. Another stock that is about to set up, but we don't have a position in this stock, is Standard Bank. We don't know if they have came out with results, but you can look, you see the patterns are similar. There's this breakout or resistance level there until the stock finally managed to break above that resistance level. Then there's another period of consolidation, the stock bouncing up and down between resistance level and support level. So now the stock is consolidating near the resistance level. Once again, if there is enough power from the buyers, then we can expect a Standard Bank to break above 185. So we'll see what happens here around 185. We know people prefer to diversify. We already have a position on Investec and Absa Group. For us, there is no need to also want to have a position on Standard Bank. But if you don't have a position in the companies that we've already spoke about, you can set a buy stop order around 185 in anticipation that Standard Bank is going to break above 185 or 186. For us, we already have a position. Once again, you need to keep in mind that there's always going to be an alternative scenario. The share price can fail and then it can come back to retest that 125 or 145 support level. Always have at least two scenarios in your mind whenever you want to plan, or whenever you're planning your trade, because there's always going to be an alternative scenario, and whichever scenario plays out, you need to be prepared for that scenario. Okay, so we don't have a position on Standard Bank, but we are expecting Standard Bank to at least try and break above this level, especially if there is enough power within the banking sector, if people are buying the banking shares, right? Then let us look at Netbank. We also don't have a position on Netbank Group. Netbank Group is still not there yet. You can see we've already anticipating the breakout level somewhere just around 235 going to about 240. So depending on how the share price of Netbank Group performs, we might see a breakout this level. The stock is just on the watch list at the moment because it is not at the buy point, so there's no need for us to spend so much time on this particular company. We can also look at Discovery, because Discovery is also another bank that other people are using. So you see, it is clear that Discovery has been on a downtrend compared to the other banks in terms of price action. It has had a poor price action. That is not to say that Discovery Bank as a bank or as a business is not a good bank compared to the other banks. We are simply looking at the price action of these different banks. Business wise, each company has its own strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes it may be or may not be reflected on the price action. So at the moment, we don't have a position on Netbank. Netbank is still trading below this level here. Maybe once the share price break above this level, it might get our attention. But like we said, we already have a large position on the banking stocks, so there won't be a need for us to come back and rush to Discover. And comparing Discovery to Investec, Discovery, should it trade above this level, it still needs to go higher there before it reaches that previous high. So there's always going to be a lot of potential resistance level, whereas the other stocks, they are just trading at their all-time highs or at their 52-week highs, and there are no resistance level above them. Whenever you trade, always ensure that you follow the path of least resistance, because that is where you are more likely to make money than trying to buy a company that still has overhead resistance on its way. So for that reason, we don't have a position on Discover. It is on our watch list, but it's not something that we will be keen buying. But that does not mean that there's something wrong with the stock. And then finally, let us look at Firstrand and see how Firstrand compares to the other stocks. So now when you look at Firstrand, we can also see that it has been on a downtrend, and then it attempted to come back to trade above this level. So at this moment, the stock is consolidating above this level. Possibly the stock can attempt to break above this level. There will be some time where the stock it tries to come back to that previous high of about 78 rand per share. So we don't have a position on we don't have a position on Firstrand. We have a position on Absa and Investec. We are happy with those positions. This company can also potentially recover if Firstrand comes back and trade above 78 rand per share. Then maybe at the time we might have an interest. And some of these companies are yet to release their either interim result or final result, and depending on the figures that they report, then maybe there might be a catalyst that can push these share prices up. But at the moment, some of these stocks are still just trying to recover, whenever you want to trade, at least to put yourself in a position where you are more likely to be profitable, it's always look for those companies that are already moving in the right direction, rather than to have your capital sitting waiting for your favorite company to set up. We do not have favorite companies. We trade what is moving at that particular time. So yeah, that's it that I wanted to share with you today. And if you found value in this video and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, and make sure that you smash that like button. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment sections. For those that always comment on our videos, you know that we always reply to the comments. So that's it for today. I will see you in the next video.